What's going on, guys? We're coming to you live here with another game of Flesh and Blood TCG. This time we have Tom versus Dole. Tom is on the left here, and he's going to be playing the Runeblade today. And on the right, we have Dole, who is going to be playing Dash, the Mechanologist. This should be an interesting matchup here. So the way that this is going to work, typically we're going to see the Mechanologist player trying to set up their items, get into a position where their pistol is going to be really buffed by all the items that they have in play. And while it may take some time to set up, if they do get fully set up, they're going to be in a really dominant position relative to what other classes can do. And so we're going to see Tom here going for an early turn where he's going to just try to make a lot of Runechants. So he leads off with Mordred Tide. Until end of turn, if you would create a Runechant token, instead create that mini +1. He then uses his Grasp of the Arknight to create 2. Or it creates 1, but it gets the +1, so it creates 2. And then he plays a Read the Runes for 3, which goes up to 4, putting him at 6. And it also triggers Viserai's ability. Whenever you play a Runeblade card, if you have played another non-attack action card this turn, create a Runechant token. So as a result of that, he ends up getting a total of 8 Runechant tokens on the first turn. Pretty strong first turn. So Tom here has a deck that is making lots of Runechant tokens and doing some huge attacks. And it's going to be interesting here to see whether or not he has enough pressure to deal with the Mechanologist. One of the strengths of the Mechanologist is the ability to just get set up and get into a really strong position. So it may be that taking the time to build up these Runechants is not going to be the best strategy against Mech, but we're going to have to see exactly how Tom is going to play this. Now, the Mechanologist player has an incredibly strong hand here in terms of getting built up. So we see another Induction Chamber in hand and a Spark of Genius, which is a card that you can use. This one here, you can search your deck for a Mechanologist card with cost X and put it into the arena. And so he's going to, load up his items. This Induction Chamber, he started with 1 in play thanks to Dash's ability, which lets you start with an item of your choice. For 1 energy, you can put a steam counter on it, and later you can use it to give your pistol go again. And then, so he loads up his items and then plays a second Induction Chamber, and he has that really powerful Spark of Genius waiting in Arsenal, which is going to allow him to potentially search out another one of his items and get it set up. He's getting those items set up really fast. Unlike Runeblade doesn't have a way to destroy those items or otherwise attack them. So it's going to be an interesting situation here. And it looks like our Runeblade player is going to go for a big attack, which I do think is correct. He plays a Come to Fight. Next attack action card you play this turn gains +3, and follows up with a Command and Conquer, extremely strong. Strength 9 with the buff. Defense reactions can't be played against it, and if it hits, it will destroy all cards in Arsenal. This, if it hits, this will be really big for Tom here, because destroying that card in Arsenal will really set back Dole's ability to get things set up. There's also 8 Runechants coming in, so this is a ton of damage, 17 damage from this combination when it is between the Runechants that he made last turn and the big attack that he's playing this turn. Now Dole could defend this, so he has a fair amount of equipment defense. He has the Arcanite Skullcap, which could block for 1, and he could block with his Foundry Heart for another 2. That would be 3, and then he would only need 2 cards to block all 9, and then he could potentially even pitch something to block some of those Runechants as well. Or he could block with 3 cards from hand. He does have this Teklo-Core in hand. This is a strong card. It costs 0, and playing it ends your turn, so he could just block with all his cards in hand and then just play the Teklo-Core. It would mean that he would take 8 damage from all the Runechants, which isn't great, but, it's interesting. I think they made a slight mistake here. He has a Runechant there, but I don't think he should. Because Viserai's ability only triggers from a Runeblade card. Interestingly, okay, so Dole has disconnected here. I think we were having some lag, but he said that he was going to take the 8 damage from the Runechants, which I think is prudent here, probably. Runechants are a strong mechanic. It's the core mechanic here for the Runeblade class, where when you play an attack action card or attack with a weapon, destroy Runechant and deal 1 arcane damage to target opposing hero. So that's an interesting thing. So Tom points out the duel disconnected. Hopefully he'll come back. So the way these Runechants typically work is that you're going to want to amass a bunch of them and then send them out, and or you're going to want to just have one or two that are going to come in alongside another attack. Dole has reconnected now. And the good thing about the Runeblade character is that you do a mix of arcane and physical damage. So arcane damage has to be blocked with arcane barrier. It can't be blocked normally. And physical damage is blocked normally. Wizard often does only arcane damage. Most classes only do physical damage, but Runeblade has a mix of the two, so it can be very awkward. For instance, let's say a Runeblade pitches for 3, makes 1 Runechant using Grasp of the Arknight, where you can pay 2 to create a Runechant token. Its cost goes up if you already have a bunch of tokens, but let's say you didn't have any. So you pitch blue, you got 3 energy, spend 2 to create a Runechant token, and then you swing your Reaping Blade. So the Reaping Blade is coming in for 3. The opponent could block that with a card, and then also a Runechant is coming in for 1 arcane. So if the opponent wants to block both of those, they're going to have to use 2 different sources to block. They can't do it all with one thing, even if they had a card that blocked for 4. Okay, so it looks like he's going for the heavy block here. He's going to use his equipment. And he's going to use his equipment and 2 cards from hand, block a total of 10, and he does stop the Command and Conquer, taking some equipment damage, but that's going to give him a more productive next turn. In fact, we could see him pitch both those cards in hand to get 6 total, and then load up his Induction Chamber and then play the Stroke of Genius that he has in his arsenal. In fact, it'd be better to shoot the pistol first, and then... Yeah, so he shoots the pistol for 2. So the Tecloplasma pistol is a very strong weapon. By default, it's actually very weak, but it synergizes with these other items, which makes it really powerful in a way that some of the other classes just are not. And the reason for that is that you can potentially be taking multiple shots with it in a turn, and that's really quite good. For whatever reason, I'm having an issue, guys, where I'm not my stream manager here is not loading the chat. So my apologies if people are saying things in chat and I'm missing it. I'm gonna try to reboot that and try to check in and see what's going on. But in the meantime, pistol shot for 2. So there's a little glitch here thanks to some lag where Tom's cards aren't all visible. He does opt to block with one of the cards from hand. That's fair. So this card is a Rune Flash, which is a 3-cost, Strength 4, Go Again, which blocks for 3. So 3-cost, Strength 4, Go Again is awful. There's some cards that do that for 0 or for 1 or whatever, depending on other conditions. But it gets discounted by the number of Runechants. So if you had a bunch of Runechants, it would actually be potentially a 0-cost Go Again at Strength 4, which could be quite good, as it is also a Runeblade action. And it looks like, maybe he's decided there's not that much that this card is going to do for me because I don't have the Runechants built up, so I'll just use it to block. Dole following up with another pistol shot, uses his second Induction Chamber to get Go Again, then he's going to use the Teclocore for pitch, play the Spark of Genius, and he has 4 energy, so he can find a card that costs 2 and put it into the arena. I think it's almost certainly going to be a Plasma Purifier here. And my prediction is correct, a Plasma Purifier. This card, like those other items, you put a Steam token on it, and then later you can remove that token. And in this case, it's going to buff up your pistol to be +1 damage until the end of the turn. So that's actually a very strong card. And, we'll see what happens there. Okay, chat is working again, guys. I think, let me just make sure. Yep, chat is working again, guys. Sorry about that. Anything that from earlier I may have missed, but feel free to comment on the game, ask me questions, etc. We are back online for the chat. And so then our Runeblade player here looks like he's going to pitch. What did he do here? Okay, so he pitches for 4. Yeah, so here's what he does here. He pitched for 4. He pays 2 for the Grasp of the Arknight, creating a Runechant token. Then he swings with the Spellblade Assault, which also creates 2 Runechant tokens. So he has one Runechant and 2 damage coming in. This is kind of that situation that I described earlier, where it's going to be a little awkward to defend against because of the different sources of damage. And his opponent's going to opt to not defend and just take the damage here, which I do think is reasonable. He's got his rig set up relatively quickly. You know, having 3 items out this early in the game is a very strong position for Mechanologist to be in. And even though he's considerably behind on life, I think he's now going to try to take the opportunity to start doing some damage of his own. Yeah, and he takes the 1 from the Runechant and the 2 physical damage, goes down to 29. Now he's behind by 9 life. And there's 2 Runechants built up for the next turn, so that looks like a pretty good situation for our Runeblade player in some ways, but Mechanologist with this setup is going to be able to start doing some major damage. And so we see a Zipper hit blue, pitched here for 3 energy. 1 energy on the Purifier, 1 energy on the Induction Chamber. Purifier is used. Then he's going to spend an energy to load up his pistol and fire it. So with the Purifier being used, he removes the steam counter. Target Mechanologist pistol you control gains +1 until end of turn. Go again. So pistol coming in at strength 3, and he's going to be able to give it go again with that Induction Chamber. We could see 3 pistol shots for a total of 9 damage here just from the weapon. Now that he has this big setup, you know, if he has the energy to keep reloading his Induction Chambers and his pistol and firing, he can really do a ton of damage. And that's one of the main strengths of the Mechanologist class. You really have the ability to, once you get your item set up supporting your pistol is going to become basically the best weapon in the game, and you start having the ability to basically more or less stop an opponent or, you know, grind down their health using only these basic pistol shots. Most classes can't say that. You know, most class weapons, you know, there are some exceptions. Warrior with the Dawnblade, you know, a lot of Warrior's damage is coming from Dawnblade swings and various buffs and so on they can do with that. Or in Blitz, Kasai with the 2 sabers, you know, those saber hits are going to do a lot. But in a lot of other classes, you're going to be playing attack action cards that are going to be doing a lot of your damage, you know, maybe even a majority of your damage and certainly your big plays. With Mechanologist, that isn't the case. Once you get fully set up with these items, or even not, like, I don't know how many items he's running, you know, these 3 is certainly a good setup. It might not be his full setup. But once, ooh, that's unfortunate. He boosts and misses. Okay, so that's an interesting situation here. Anyway, to complete my thought from earlier, once you get fully set up, you can basically just use your pistol and almost no attack action cards and still be really threatening. The thing that I remarked on here, so he used Boost. Boost is, as an additional cost, you may banish the top card of your deck. If it's a Mechanologist card, the card gains go again. And he banished, but he hit a Tome of Fyendal, so that means that his Boost missed and he didn't get go again and had to end his turn maybe a little earlier than he would have preferred. So our Runeblade player is going to follow that up with a Meet and Greet, buffed by 2 Runechants. So if this hits, create a Runechant, and if you have dealt or deal arcane damage to an opposing hero, this gains go again. Now, under normal circumstances, there is a safety valve that the Mechanologist can use for if they miss a boost, and that is this Achilles Accelerator. The problem is that this is also his only source of arcane barrier in this matchup. As he does not have any other arcane barrier items equipped, so he can't afford to actually use the Achilles Accelerator unless it's basically going to win the game, because using it will remove his ability to defend against Runechants. So it looks like he pitches in order to block the Runechants to prevent the attack from gaining go again, and then he plays a Fate Foreseen, a defense reaction there, in order to stop the attack. So Fate Foreseen does give you opt 1. Look at the top card of your deck. You may put it on the bottom. And he does opt to put that card on the bottom. So that might mean, you know, that he is planning to boost and doesn't want to boost that card. Or it could just be a card that he doesn't think is that relevant in this matchup. That card gives you a little bit of foresight into what's coming up and allows you to kind of tune your setup. So then the Runeblade player puts the other Meet and Greet into Arsenal. Not looking amazing for our Runeblade player here, but we do see a hand that is maybe going to let him make a lot of Runechants. He could do this Mauvrian Skies, next attack gains go again, and if this hits, create 3 Runechant tokens. And then, I don't know, I guess actually it's not that good because this only applies to attack actions, but he could like pitch and then read the runes and then play Meet and Greet or something. There's some options. In fact, that sounds pretty decent. But back to the Mechanologist player whose turn it is right now. Pistol plasma purifier being used, so he pitches blue and loads up his purifier and induction chamber and the pistol, and then he's going to use the purifier and lead off with a pistol shot for 3. Tough situation here for our Runeblade player. If this mech, this mech is pretty set up, and once mech gets set up, they tend to have the advantage. I'm not sure if the way that this Runeblade deck works with turns that are just building up Runechants is going to be fast enough to defeat this mech as things get set up here. I really don't know. So then the induction chamber is used there for go again. Now, he could use that reduce to Runechant to stop this, but the problem is because he doesn't have a Runechant, it's actually going to cost an additional 1. So this is a 1-cost defense reaction, so you have to pay 1 to play it. It costs 1 less to play for each Runechant you control, so if he had a Runechant, it would be free. But because he doesn't, he would have to pitch another card from his hand to play it, and I think that means it's probably not worth it. I would maybe just take the damage here. I'm not sure. It looks like that. It looks like Tom has come to the same conclusion as me, though, because he does indeed just take the damage. Then he pitches, and it looks like he's going to be fueling up a induction chamber, but instead of using it, he plays the Command and Conquer. Strong card here. Coming in at strength 6. Defense reactions can't be played against it, and if it hits, it will destroy the arsenal. So now, to be fair, though, because Tom has not used his equipment at all, he has some options for this with equipment block. He could block only with one of those things that blocks for 2, and play 2 equipment blocks with his Bloodsheath Skeleton and Grasp of the Arknight to block the remaining 4. Dole could have actually made this situation a lot harder by using his Goliath Gauntlet, but for whatever reason did not opt to do that. I think it might have been strong to do here, but I don't know for sure. So we'll see what Tom does in response to the CNC. It looks like so he's going to block with the Mavrian Skies, which is only going to block it for 2. Maybe getting a little lag here. What is he doing? He's gonna block for. Is he gonna block for 2 and take 4? Yeah, he is. So he loses the meet and greet that he has in Arsenal. That's rough. I personally think it would have been a good idea to block with those 2 pieces of equipment to keep the meet and greet in Arsenal, because I think you want to keep that to have a much more credible turn of your own. I feel like he's going to have kind of a low impact turn without that meet and greet, and I think that against Mech, that's not really what you can afford to do at this time. We'll have to see, but I think that you really want to be putting on more pressure, and I'm not sure he can afford to lose that card because it's definitely the most aggressive card that he had at this time. But I could easily be wrong. I'm not an expert at playing Runeblade, and it's possible he has a different plan in mind. Let's see how he follows up that turn. Maybe a little lag here. Not sure why Dole isn't drawing his cards. There we go. Okay. So, we do see some trouble here for our Runeblade player, but let's see if he can get things set up and get out of this situation. It looks like he's going to use his Grasp of the Arknight to create a Runechant token. And then we're going to see... He does have an energy left, but I'm not sure... So he could play the Read the Runes that he has in hand to get 3 more Runechants, or he could just swing his weapon or something. I'm not sure. It doesn't look great. I think he probably wants to play that Read the Runes, get the 3 other Runechants, and then throw Reduce to Runechant into Arsenal. I think that's probably going to be his best play in this situation. So the reason that I say that is he could swing his Reaping Blade, but all it would do is swing for 3. And then he wouldn't have a Runechant, so he'd be stuck in that same position where this Reduce to Runechant would be unable to be used. So the problem with this is this what? Dole accidentally draws more cards. I think we're getting some serious lag here for Dole. So this thing where you don't see, I think he's probably sending chat messages that aren't going through because he's lagging, and I think that this thing where you can't see the cards that you have in hand, that's a bug that's also caused by lag, as far as I can tell. So I think we're seeing some lag issues here for Dole. Um, but in terms of the game itself, I think that despite his connection problems, Dole has a big advantage here with the items that he has set up. He should be able to just put on a barrage of pistol shots that our Runeblade is going to have trouble defending against. So I just put those extra cards that he had drawn back so that if he does reconnect, hopefully he's only going to see the 4 that he's supposed to have here. Let's see how things go. Unfortunately, Tabletop Simulator does, I believe, use peer-to-peer server or whatever, and there are sometimes issues when the players are geographically separated. I'm not sure where Tom and Dole are actually from geographically, but you know, could be one of those things. Okay, it looks like things are good now, though, so we're going to proceed on to the rest of Tom's turn. He led off with that Grasp of the Arknight, and he is indeed going to just play Read the Runes. It is a red copy. That is going to be 3 Runechants, so he is up to 4 Runechants, but that's not the, that's not the type of aggression that I think you often need when you're playing against a Mechanologist and trying to do some damage or at least force them to use cards from hand to prevent that huge barrage of pistol attacks. But, I think we're going to see another barrage of pistol attacks this turn, and there isn't, I don't think that the Runeblade is going to be able to sustain all that much of this. However, he does have a strong card in hand here. He does have an Arknight Ascendancy here, which is one of the finishing moves of Runeblade, where if you have, it costs 1 less to play for each Runechant you control. If it hits, it's going to create X Runechants, where X is the damage dealt. It also has Dominate, so that's potentially going to be huge if he can manage to get some Runechants set up so that he can play that card cheaply. It could be just a huge amount of damage, and I think he can do that. He has 2 reduced to Runechants, so he could use both the reduced to Runechants that he has, go up to 6, and then he could even there's other stuff that he could do for setup, but I think we could see a big Arknight Ascendancy on this next turn. I'm not sure what exactly he wants to do to prepare for it. Maybe nothing, but it could be an interesting situation. Right now, though, he's got to figure out how he wants to defend against all these pistol shots from Mechanologists. So he does opt to use the first reduced to Runechant from Arsenal. It is going to stop that attack completely, and it additionally creates a Runechant token. This is a strong card. The main issue with it is you have to have that or at least 1 Runechant already in play, or it costs 1, and you really don't want to be pitching 1 to pay for that. Maybe if you're running Fyendal Spring Tunic and you have that energy, you can use that to play it more reliably. But I mean, I think most Runeblade players are now playing Bloodsheath Skeleton instead of Fyendals, so that does make the reduced to Runechant a little more awkward to use. So now the second pistol shot coming in here for 3, thanks to the induction chamber. I think I highlighted this earlier, but just to be clear, this item, you can put a steam counter on it for 1 energy, and you can remove it to give a pistol attack go again, which is going to allow potentially a large number of pistol shots in a turn. Chamber is used here again, so another go again. We have another strength 3 pistol shot with go again. And I think we're going to see the second reduced to Runechant used here to block that attack and give another Runechant, putting him up to 6, which is going to mean that he'll be able to play that Arknight Ascendancy for free, which is pretty wild. We'll have to see how that goes, though. Yeah, there's the block with reduced to Runechant, and another little bit of energy there, or a little bit of Runechant there. Up to 6. High speed impact for 4 go again, and if it hits the next attack you boost, this combat chain gains Dominate. So the giving an attack dominate, this is actually, like, this sounds good, but in this sort of deck, it's not really that impactful because these aren't typically attacks that you'd want to be blocking with more than one card anyway. So dominate means the opponent can only block with one card from hand. In this situation, I don't really think he wants to. I would probably just take the damage here. On the other hand, I don't know what he's planning. He does have that Arcane Ascendancy. He could throw that out, and even if it's the only card in his hand, he could still play it and do a very powerful attack. So maybe that's gonna be fine. Maybe that's all he needs. He opts to block for 2 with his Grasp of the Arknight. Okay. Grasp of the Arknight, the equipment that he's been using to make those Runechants on some turns. It also defends for 2, and then once you block with it the first time, it gets a -1 counter, and then you can defend with it again for 1. And then after that, I guess you could defend for 0, but it's not incredibly impactful to do so. So that is still on the combat chain, technically. He drags it out. The combat chain could end, but we'll see. Now, this could be a good opportunity to use the Teklo Foundry Heart here to get some energy and put stuff on those items. I think that's something that would really benefit the Runeblade player here, or I'm sorry, the Mechanologist player here, just because it does look like he's going to end this turn without his items charged up much. Though he does fire off another boost attack, and he does hit that boost as well. So this is coming in for 4, the basic 0 to 60. This is an extremely strong card. Red 0 to 60, often going to be a strength 4 go again for free. Blocks that one with the Skeleton and takes 2 damage. Okay. Then the Teklo Foundry Heart being used here. So he spends 1 energy and then banishes the top 2 cards, gain 1 energy for each Mech card banished this way. First one's a hit, so that's 1 energy. Let's see if the second one's a hit. Second one's a hit, so that's going to be 2 energy for him. And he's going to use that 2 energy to load up a induction chamber and then load and fire his pistol for another 3 damage. Huge turn here from Mechanologist. You know, I think we saw a total of 8. We saw 17 total damage, I think, being thrown out here between 3 pistol shots and 2 strength 4 attacks. Is that right? Maybe it was 2 pistol shots, but it was, 14 or 17 damage. That's really a lot to be throwing out here. And I think that goes to show you really need to be putting pressure on Mechanologist and trying to prevent them from getting this huge setup, if at all possible. Let's see what Tom can do here. He's in trouble. The Mechanologist is set up. There's another item in hand. There's a Plasma Purifier in hand that could be set up to make this pistol even more dangerous. And, we're going to have to see, but I'm not sure he's going to be able to do all that much. He throws out Arcanite Ascendancy. He doesn't use the other 2 cards in his hand, which does make me wonder why he kept them, quite frankly. It might have been good to block with those cards if he wasn't planning to play with them, since they are going to be replaced, or at least block with 1, so the other can go to Arsenal. But he might have some other plan that I don't entirely understand, so we'll see. This is coming in, and if it will create X Runechant tokens, where X is the damage dealt, and it has Dominate, so it can only really be blocked with 1 card. We could also see the Teklo Foundry Heart used to block another point, so that would be a total of 4 damage blocked, which would mean that 1 damage would get through and 1 Runechant would be created. There's also the 6 the 6 arcane damage from the 6 Runechants to contend with. So this is certainly a powerful attack coming in from the Runeblade player, but I'm not sure that it's going to be enough. Because, if this is 11 damage, our Mechanologist did more than 11 damage last turn just by loading and firing the pistol and playing a few boost cards. We'll see. One good thing is that it is likely that he is going to block at least partially against this. He kind of, just because the extra Runechants that would be created if he doesn't block the physical damage are going to be a serious threat. But it's possible that Mech is just going to try to do a huge turn. It looks like, okay, so he opts to take 6 from the 6 Runechants. And then let's see what he does in response to the physical damage. This damage does come with Runechants on hit. So I think probably, since every single point of damage you block matters, I think in this situation I would probably block for 3 with one of the cards from hand. And then also use the Teklo Foundry Heart to block another point. But it's possible that he's going to just say whatever. No, he's not going to do that. So he opts to block. And it looks like he's only going to block for 3. Okay, so he's not using the Foundry Heart. I think I might have used it here because it is essentially worth double, since it blocks not only a point of physical damage, but also a Runechant from being created. What? What's happening here? This doesn't have go again. He might have thought that his Ascendancy had go again or something and played these things in the wrong order. Um, looks like he thought he was going to be able to use that, become the Arcanite, and he says, "Oh, you're right, I sequenced bad." Yeah, so he would have had to do that beforehand, and I think he neglected that, unfortunately. So now he's in a. So that explains why he had kept those cards in his hand. He thought he was going to be able to play that afterwards, but I think he got mixed up. You know, maybe he thought that was the. There is one Runeblade card that you can play as an instant. I'm blanking. Rattle Bones. You can play as an instant, and it recovers a card from the graveyard if you've already played a. If you have already played a, or if you've already done arcane damage that turn, you can play it as an instant and fetch another thing, and then it has go again. And I think he might have gotten those cards mixed up and thought he could do that, but he had the wrong one. Yeah, and unfortunately, so this is the card that he might have thought that he has, Rattle Bones. Banish target Runeblade attack action card from your graveyard. You may play it this turn, and if you have dealt arcane damage to an opposing hero this turn, you may play Rattle Bones as though it were an instant. So that might have been what he thought he was able to do there, but that is not the case, unfortunately for him. And Tom says that's probably GG, LOL. Yeah, I think he is actually in a lot of trouble here now. I think he was hoping to have an even bigger turn than he did, and now he's going to just get bombarded by pistol shots. Pistol shot comes in for 3. He does, however, block it this time with a reduced to Runechant. So he's not going to take damage from that shot, and his opponent does use a what's it called? A induction chamber for a go again. Then we see another induction chamber being loaded up, and a pitch for 3. And I think we're going to see probably the pistol loaded. He might just load up. He might fire also. I'm not sure, or he might just load and then play the plasma purifier. Let's see whether or not he opts to actually take the shot here, or whether or not he's just going to play the purifier. No, he's going to go for the shots. That's another 3 damage coming in. Our Runeblade player definitely getting pressured by these pistol attacks. And the one good thing about this for Tom is that it means that Dole is going to end his turn without very much set up. Because if he uses that induction chamber for go again and then plays the plasma purifier with his remaining 2 energy, he'll have a huge rig, but he won't have any energy on his items, or he won't have any steam counters on his items, which means he'll have to pay a relatively high price to do the full barraging attack again, and that might create a window where Tom can attack and get some tempo. We're gonna have to see. Personally, I might just take the 3 damage here, but it's gonna depend on what he wants to actually play out on his turn. Should be an interesting situation. Should be an interesting situation here. Tom thinking about his defense. And that is one of the things that I most like about this game. You really do have to consider, how do I want to defend? How do I want to attack? What resources am I investing in this? How much damage can I afford to take? What does my own turn look like? How many cards do I need to save? It looks like he does opt to just take the 3 damage here, which I think is a good play, and then we do see the second plasma purifier coming out. So this Dole is now really set up with 2 induction chambers and 2 purifiers. If he has the energy to load up all his items and keep using them, he could in theory do 3 pistol shots at strength 4 for a total of 12 damage without having to have anything other than just pitch that he's throwing into these attacks. So that's really a dangerous situation for Tom. He's got to try to put his best hope now is to try to just put so much pressure on Dole that Dole just doesn't have anything that he will be able to stop the attacks with. Okay. So he plays Become the Arcanite, discards a non-attack card to search for a Runeblade attack, uses his Bloodsheath Skeleton. Next attack action and non-attack action gain, this card costs 1 less to play for each Runechant you control. So he's going to use the Bloodsheath Skeleton, which means that he'll be able to play the card that he just pulled, an Oath of the Arcanite, for free. Next Runeblade attack gains +3, create a Runechant token. It will then create another Runechant token because he gets Viserai's ability, Whenever you play a Runeblade card, if you have played another non-attack action card this turn, create a Runechant token. So up to 5 Runechant tokens, plays a Dread Triptych, which will actually be free because of the Bloodsheath Skeleton effect on that too. Then he's going to create a Runechant from that, and then he creates another Runechant from Dread Triptych's ability. So he's coming in at strength 7 with the buff from Oath of the Arknight. And if it deals arcane damage, he'll create a Runechant token, and if it hits, it will create a Runechant token as well. So 5 arcane damage coming in, potentially creating another Runechant, and then a strength 7 attack that if it's not blocked completely will itself create another Runechant. So the arcane damage gets in, which is going to trigger Dread Triptych and make a Runechant. Yep, he sets it up to 3. And then a Fate Foreseen is played to block 4. That means 3 damage is still coming in. And that 3 damage is going to lead to another Runechant being created, which is pretty sweet for Tom. Oh yeah, so Dole I think didn't realize that it was buffed, so he says right 7 1 moment. I think he thought that that 4 was going to block this completely and prevent that extra Runechant from being created. So we now might see him using another card here to try to stop it completely, because that will prevent the other Runechant. Now he could just play the second Fate Foreseen, or he could block with one of his other cards. I don't know. It's not actually as good for, even though Dole has this great setup. Yeah, he does go for the second Fate Foreseen. Even though Dole has this great setup, he's not in the best position in the world, simply because he doesn't have all that much energy, so he won't be able to do the full barrage that he would most want from his pistol. And then I think we're gonna see just that that Rattlebone's going to the Rattlebone's just gonna go into the arsenal there, and that's the turn. Skeleton broken. Pitch there. Two energy. So he's going to load an induction chamber. Plays the zipper hit. Will trigger boost. Boost lands. So he'll have go again. This is a zipper hit at strength 5. Coming in for strength 5, go again. There isn't one of those reduced to Runechants to defend against it. This would be a good time to have one. We're going to have to see what the next turn looks like. Now, Tom actually has kind of an awkward hand where everything in his hand is an attack action. That's not normally what you want. He would ideally have a mix where he would have some kind of buff that he could play and then play his attack action. You know, maybe, I forget which one it's called, but there's one that gives the attack go again, and then it can make some Runechants on hit, so he could play that and then swing and then do another attack after that. But instead he has 4 attacks, and I don't believe they have go again, so he'll have a spot of trouble making everything go together. That does, on the other hand, mean that he has cards that he might be very willing to block with, because he's in this position where he has cards that aren't doing all that much. That sometimes, even though it's not going to be as good on your turn, it means that you have more leeway to block on the opponent's turn without messing up your next plan. So we'll see if that indeed is what happens. It looks like he is going to block with 1 card here, blocking 3. This attack is coming in for 5, so it does look like he'll take 2. Teklo Foundry Heart used here. So 2 cards. Let's see how many are Mech cards. Both of them are. So that's 2 energy. Now Mech is getting, he's milling some of his cards. He has 39 left in deck, and that does mean he's playing over 60. So he actually has more cards than his opponent, even though he's been, doing some stuff here. And then he's just going to load up his items with that energy. He's not making any pistol shots at this point. He just loads the items and does not. He loads the items and does not use them. He's trying to. I think he's trying to save up so that he can do a giant attack, which is often a good idea. With the way that these items work, with the plasma purifiers giving you a buff for the entire turn, I think that often you really want to get those buffs going for as many shots as possible for maximum efficiency. So ideally, he wants to take a bunch of shots with those weapons here. Consuming Volition coming in. This is a Strength 4 attack with it has 3 Runechants coming in first, and so if this hits, if arcane damage is dealt this turn, then the Volition gains. If this hits, the opponent has to discard a card. This is a very interesting situation for Dole. I think he might well want to pitch to block the arcane, but he could also just take the arcane and then block the physical, but he doesn't have a defense reaction that would allow him to do that efficiently, so I think it's likely that he wants to pitch to block the arcane, and then he can just let the physical damage in if he wants. He doesn't really have to block that. It's not a high priority once it loses the on-hit effect. So I would probably just pitch to block the 3 arcane damage and then take 4. Let's see if Dole is thinking the same way I am, though. Okay, so there, yeah, pitches to block 3, yep. And against the physical part of the attack, I think he's gonna either not block or block with 1 card. I personally wouldn't block. I don't think it's impactful enough to merit that. But I think maybe he's just doing some calculations on how much energy it's going to cost him to do his turn the way he wants. I think you just don't block, though. I don't think it's important to block the physical damage. And yep, Dole agrees with me. He says no block, takes 4. That's going to be the whole turn. So I think that in this situation, I think Tom was hoping that he would inflict some arcane damage, which would allow him to play this Rattle Bones as an instant, and then banish a card from his graveyard, and he could play it because of the go again from Rattlebones. But the problem is that I think he kind of sabotaged himself by using a card that made the arcane damage a higher priority block. Because he played that Consuming Volition that gains the discard if the arcane damage hits, it made his opponent more want to block the arcane damage, which, if you're trying to hit with the arcane damage to set up the Rattlebones, is kind of an own goal. So even though that effect is often good, I think in this situation it may have led to his opponent blocking in a way that was actually better. On the other hand, it's possible that Dole saw the potential Rattlebones coming and was going to block either way. Hard to say, but certainly having that potential effect from the Consuming Volition makes you more enthusiastic about about stopping that arcane damage than you would be otherwise. Both Plasma Purifiers have been used here, so these things actually stack up. Remove a steam counter from Plasma Purifier. Target Mechanologist pistol you control gains +1 until end of turn. Go again. We've seen 2 of them used here, and then the pistol shot comes in. This is actually going to be at strength 4. With all of the energy that Dole has access to here, it's going to be a tough situation. Okay, so we see a block with 1 card, so only 1 damage gets through. But then the induction chamber is used to grant go again, and then the pistol is loaded and fired a second time for another 4 damage. This is the reason that Mechanologist is so scary when they get set up. We're going to see potentially 3 pistol shots for 4 damage each. That's 12 before he plays any other cards. That's a huge amount of damage, and that's not really something that most classes can stand up to. So now he should pitch and then play the zipper hit, because the boost from that will allow him to use his Teklo Foundry Heart, I believe. Let's see if that's what he does. I don't know why he loaded there instead of his pistol. He should probably load his pistol. He has to play the zipper hit first. He can't use the Teklo Foundry Heart without having boosted. Yeah, zipper hit now comes out. He does boost. The boost lands, so he has go again. Zipper hit yellow coming in for another 4, so that's a total of 12 damage. And he's probably going to follow this one up with a use of the Teklo Foundry Heart and then another pistol shot unless he gets very unlucky. And that's in turn going to mean that he is going to have done a total, he's going to have swung for a total of 16 this turn, which is not something that anyone can sustainably block against. No class can sustainably block these types of turns. Yep, there's the Foundry Heart. Milling his top 2 cards. Let's see if any of them are mech cards. Both of them are, so that's 2 energy. So he'll use one of the energy to load, a chamber or a purifier, and then the other energy to load and fire the pistol. And there we go. The last 4 damage, total of 16 damage this turn. And, as we can see, Tom has been blocking heavily, but even with those heavy blocks, it hasn't managed to put him into a good position. There's not much he can do at this point. I think this one's going... Yeah, so he blocks with his last... He blocks it completely using his last card from hand and his piece of equipment, so he won't take damage, but it also means he's not even going to get a next turn. So his next turn, all he can do is just draw up. He doesn't have anything that he can play. Very, very bad situation for Tom. I think Dole has got this one in the bag. I think this Runeblade deck that Tom is playing is just too slow to compete against a Mechanologist, because if you let Mechanologist get set up, you're almost guaranteed to lose. You have to be putting a lot of pressure on them to prevent them from getting all their items out and stuff, and he just has not been able to do that, I feel. There have been some kind of slow turns where he has, just played Read the Runes or whatever, and it doesn't do as much as you need in this matchup. To be fair, Dole has also had some, he's had some favorable luck. He got set up very quickly, like definitely faster than average for a Mechanologist deck with the, I think he played an item on the first turn, and then he played item on the first turn and then a Spark of Genius on the second turn. And so he was able to get set up really quickly. But, it's tough. It's I think that the main hope against one's main hope against Mech is to be very aggressive and get them before they set up. Unless you're playing Brute, where you can destroy their items and reset them, you need to be a very aggressive deck, and you don't have very much time to do these plays that Runeblade normally wants to do, where you're building up your Runechants and waiting for the future. Now, to be fair, he did also make that major sequencing mistake, and it's possible that he could have done a bigger play in the mid game when he was going for that big Arknight Ascendancy. I think it is totally possible that if he had done his sequencing better in that situation, he could have done something significantly stronger. But that's not what we saw. So we'll see how things continue. So he blocks for 3. He's going to take 1. Another induction chamber is used here, or an induction chamber is used here for go again. And Mech sometimes has a risk of running out of cards in deck, but at 32 cards remaining in deck, that's not going to happen, I feel. Teklo-Core in this case is going to be pitched for 3 energy, I think. Is he playing it? No, he should be pitching that. Yeah, playing it would be a big mistake. It would lose him a lot of tempo. Yeah, so Teklo-Core pitched for 3 energy. Spends 1 to load and fire the pistol again. Blocked for 3. Induction chamber used. So that's been 2 strength 4 pistol shots thus far. He's thinking about his other options here. Spends an energy, loads up the induction chamber. Loads up the other induction chamber. Pitches for 3 more energy. Loads up the purifier. Loads up the purifier. Probably he's going to throw out this 0 to 60, and then he's going to boost with it and use his Teklo Foundry Heart, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, I think that's what we're going to see here. No, he's not going to opt for that. He's just going to shoot the pistol again for another 4 damage. Okay. 3 of it's blocked. 1 damage gets through. So, this turn he fired 3 pistol shots for a total of 12 damage, and Tom only took 3 damage after his blocks, but he also lost 3 cards. So he has a 1 card turn, and it's not going to do enough to offset this. And I don't really know why that 0 to 60 was. I guess he saved it in hand to make sure that he would have energy for his next turn. He maybe just wanted to keep blue in hand for energy and momentum, but we'll see how things progress here. Tom uses his Grasp of the Arknight to create a Runechant token. And then he is going to use the one remaining energy to swing with his Reaping Blade. So this is going to be 3 plus 1. So 1 Rune Chant plus the 3 physical damage. We discussed this before as something that Runeblade can do. And in some situations, this would be very threatening. If, if Dole were lower on life, this would potentially be something that would actually take 2 cards to defend against. But in this situation, I think Dole can just say, whatever, I take 4, and then come in with another huge attack next turn. He's just not pressured that much in terms of the life totals. We could also see him block with one of his cards, of course. I'm not sure what he'll do, but if I were him, I wouldn't care about this. I would just take the damage. He blocks with high octane. I don't know why you would do that. So this is a really strong card on offense. I think I would play it for the offense, but honestly, I don't think he needs it. I think he's going to win at this point regardless. I guess maybe he did that just to keep as much energy as possible in his hand. But High Octane's a really good card because when you play it, it replaces itself by drawing. And it also, when you boost, you gain an action point. So with the action point that he would gain from that, he could potentially be using that. He could potentially use the action point that he would gain to do another pistol shot. So I personally think that High Octane is actually really strong and that he should not have pitched it here. But I think he's going to win this game either way because he has such a strong board state and coupled with a life advantage. I'm just not sure what Tom can do to get back in the game, especially because Tom is playing a slower deck, which is not what you want to be playing in this situation. So we see the 2 plasma purifiers being used. Each of them remove a steam counter. Target pistol gains +1 until end of turn. He has both of the plasma purifiers going, so he has some, double purified plasma in his pistol there, and so both of those being used. Pistol is up to strength 4. The humble Tecloplasma pistol, starting out as one of the worst weapons in the game, but with all these items, it becomes very strong indeed. And so now we see the pistol shot being made at strength 4. Blocked for 3, I believe, from a Rattlebones. Yeah, Rattlebones blocks for 3. So 1 damage getting through from that, I suppose. I think they might be lagging a bit again. I'm seeing some weird highlights on these items, some weird selections. But I think Tom is not long for this world. I think Dole's barrage of pistol attacks here is going to just be very difficult to stop. Yeah, it does look like it looks like I might be lagging here as my chat message is not showing up immediately. Yeah, it's looking grim. I don't see a way out for I don't see a way out here for Tom. So Dole is going to be able to do 3 strength 4 pistol shots this turn and potentially also a boosted attack. There's just too much damage coming in. You can't withstand a setup Mechanologist for very long at all. The main hope against Mechanologist is usually doing a bunch of damage to them before you set up and just getting enough of a lead that they don't have the opportunity to make these attacks like this. Or maybe they do get fully set up, but you keep putting the pressure on and they have to block and protect themselves, and because they're blocking, they don't have the energy to do the full attack with all their items being used because it is energy hungry. But this is not where you want to be. Late game against a Mechanologist, they're set up, they have a life advantage. You don't have anything much set up yourself. It's not a good situation. Okay. Let's see how things persist here. Dole has disconnected. So I think that lag is striking back, but quite ironically disconnecting after he says, "I'm alive." I don't think this one's going to go too well. I don't think this one's going to go too well for Tom, though. I mean, Ironically, I think his only hope of winning at this point might be if somehow Dole disconnects and can't rejoin. And even then, I think we would know, this isn't exactly a tournament game, and I think it's pretty clear which way this was likely going to go. Okay. Dole says, sorry, my internet's killing me. And Tom says, I'm going to concede, I think. I think that's actually pretty reasonable. I think he's basically done. Yeah, Tom says, I don't think I can survive next turn, and I don't want you to suffer through. Yeah, I think that's fair. Brutal situation there for Tom. He just is not able to withstand the fully set up Mechanologist, I feel. And to be fair, it's a tough situation. Mechanologist is a very strong deck for a reason, and this type of attack pattern is one of the main things that Mech has going for it. So, yeah, not great. Dole says I probably can kill you this turn, and Tom just says GG. Yeah, I don't really think playing it out is necessary, regardless of whether or not it's this turn or next turn. The game's essentially over. Yeah, Dole says I can probably kill you this turn with Magnetic and Goliath. Tom says sorry for all the misplays. And yeah, so it's an interesting situation. So Dole got set up really fast, which is very unfavorable for Tom. But in addition, I think that Tom did make that major sequencing mistake, which might have cost him a lot. So we'll see how this matchup is in a more standard situation. But at least for now, I don't know. I think even if he had done the better sequencing there, I think he still would likely have been in some trouble. Quite frankly. All right, and that's going to do it for the game. Thanks, guys, for watching that one. That was a rough game for our Runeblade, and really a demonstration of how scary Mechanologist can be if you let him get set up. So that's going to do it for this stream, guys. Thanks for watching, and we'll be back later with some more Flesh and Blood content. Thanks again, guys, and I will catch you later.